How's it going, YouTube? I wanted to get back into the game, if you will. So here I am. If you've been wondering where I've been, and judging by the size of the channel, I don't think any of you have, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I was injured quite badly a few months back, and I've been dealing with that, physical therapy and surgery and all that kind of thing that I won't worry you guys with. So that's where I was. Haven't been able to really do any YouTube. Can't do a whole lot when you can't walk on your own. So that's where I've been. But I'm back, and I remembered that I have a YouTube channel. So I'm just gonna talk real quick about something that I'm really not all that qualified to talk about. And that's locomotives. And why I like GE over EMD. So when it comes to like modern mainline class 1 service locomotives, GE is king. There's no doubt about it. General Electric locomotives are just prevalent on every class 1 railroad in the United States that has mainline freight service. In the rails is a different story. In the yards is a different story. They're in the yards doing like switching duties and local freights and class 2 and 3 railroads. It's a different story. EMDs are much more prevalent there than with the class 1 railroads on mainline service. And well, they are good engines. I can't lie. They are good engines. And they're the EMD SD40-2, the GP38-2. Those older EMDs, they are the backbone of America's freight yards and short line railroads. But on the class 1s on mainline freight service, GEs are king. There's no doubt about it. So really, it starts with the -9, I think. -8 or -9. I'm leaning more towards -8. But these locomotives, they're just, the railroads, they start buying more GEs than they do EMD. And EMD really just starts slipping. And really, they never really came back because it's really the way things are now, with GEs being just basically the standard. Used to be EMD, but now it's GE because I just feel like GE made a superior product. I think, especially with the later the last Dash series, like the -9, that really just solidified GE's reputation that they can build solid workhorse engines for mainline freight service. And then they keep building on it with the AC 4400 CW, and eventually they get into the Evolution series, the ES44 ACs and those kinds of things. And those are basically the golden standard now. And I like them because I think they look very cool. They just look so just fantastic. They look like how a big diesel electric locomotive should, I think. They look very aggressive. They look great, man. They look awesome. And they sound awesome. GEs, especially like the -9s and the GEVOs, when they're starting up, when they're in like notch 8, they just sound so much better than an EMD, in my opinion. I mean, when it starts up, it just, all that clanging and banging, the lunch bell, it's different, and it's freaking cool. And I just feel like you don't really get that with the EMDs. They do their job. Obviously they do their job, and they don't really have any style to it, I don't think. They just start up and they go. GEs, you start them up and they just sound much cooler, I think. Especially when they're just in notch 8 just flying past you at like 70 miles an hour, and they're just roaring like that, turbochargers and all. They just sound amazing. And I will never not like that sound. Part of this reason, part of why I like the GEs, I think at least, stems back to when Unstoppable was released back in 2010, I think it was. That if you haven't watched the movie, you should. But basically, there's a runaway train, AWVR number 777 and 767. They're both Canadian National AC 4400 CW. And I absolutely loved it. I watched that movie on repeat, not only because it was a great movie and I really like trains, but because the way that they made 777 like feel like its own character, and how they combined the real sounds of an AC 4400 and they just made it feel like an evil demon or something. That was always really cool to me. I really liked how they did that. They made it feel alive. And it's a great movie. Sadly though, it was, I believe, Tony Scott's last film. So that was very unfortunate. But he produced a really great movie. And that's a really big part of why I like GEs. Of course, in that movie you do see a lot of EMDs, namely 1206, I believe, is a GP38, I believe. But I'm not exactly sure at this time, but I know it's an EMD. So obviously GE and EMD, they're very reliable locomotives, but I just like the GEs more. And that is entirely my opinion. Obviously you're entitled to yours. I know people say that seeing a bunch of GEs after a while it gets a little bit samey, and because I mean, it's the same with EMDs, really. If you see a million ACEs out on the rails, it's really the same as seeing a million GEs. Right? You get what I'm saying? But basically, what it all boils down to, I like GE locomotives, and clearly all the Class 1 railroads do too, because they are by far the most common mainline revenue freight service engine that you will see out on the line. Obviously you'll get your fair share of EMDs from time to time, but it's mainly GEs that are filling that role and transporting all the freight across the country. And I just feel like the GE knocked it out of the park. Then really that's it. Obviously you can tell me how wrong I am, or how EMD makes the best locomotives in the comments section. And I look forward to seeing you there. I will be reading your comments. So make them a little snappy, make them funny, right? And I suppose I'll see you in the next upload, whenever that is. Yeah.